Today's guest is Jazmine Morales Rodriguez, an educator, instructional coach, and equity centered leader committed to building schools where students feel seen, supported, and empowered. Jazmine currently serves as an unconditional coach with Seneca, partnering with educators and families to strengthen school culture, implement positive behavior supports, and turn research into meaningful practice. She brings experience as a humanities teacher, instructional coach, and equity leader, including designing ethnic studies curriculum and leading anti-racist professional learning. A proud graduate of Loyola Marymount University and the University of Southern California, Go Trojans, Jazmine's work is grounded in trauma-informed and restorative practices, reminding us what's possible when equity is not an initiative, but a way of being. Welcome to another inspiring, I hope, episode of On the School Bus with Dr. Spates. Let's go. Welcome to On the School Bus with Dr. Spates, the podcast dedicated to advancing creativity and innovation in education. Each week, we invite educators, innovators, and creatives from across the country doing the real work in schools to hop on the school bus with me, Dr. Spates. Together, we explore what's working. Whether you lead from an office, a classroom, or anywhere in between, this podcast is your vehicle for creative ideas, bold leadership, and strategies that have been put to the test where it counts in schools. Because our children, families, caregivers, and communities are counting on us to equip the next generation for success. Let's go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of On the School Bus with Dr. Spates. Today, I have an amazing guest. I cannot wait for you to meet Ms. Jazmine Morales Rodriguez. How are you, Jazmine?
Good.
How's the bus? How's the inside of the bus look?
Amazing. Beautiful. Spectacular.
All right. Well, we're going to have a great conversation. You're somebody who definitely inspires me, and I'm excited for everybody else to get to know you. In your words, who is Jazmine Morales Rodriguez?
I would say, somebody who grew up in the AV,
And for listeners who
loves,
may be in like Texas, what is the AV?
right. The AV is Ansel Valley, so
Okay.
it's the desert.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
like someone who came from very like humble beginnings in that way and figured out that she just wants to explore a little more. And now I'm in the Bay and learning lots, hoping to bring it back home soon.
Awesome. And tell us about just sort of your educational path and career path.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to stumble upon like a flyer in middle school that was for a high school that dual enrolled students in high school and college at the same time at our local community college. And I was really scared at first when I saw this flyer, and I'll never forget my teacher, my math teacher, Mr. Aslam. He was the one that pushed me and was like, no, you should really go for this. Like, you should try it out. I was like, I don't know. Like,
That's
that sounds
awesome.
really scary.
Yeah.
So I was able to do that. I got in, I did the high school and college at the same time. And by the time I was a senior, I had 55 college credits that were transferable.
Amazing.
Um, yeah, and it was a huge blessing because first of all, like my family and I, like we didn't talk much about college. Like that wasn't a
Mhm.
thing.
Right.
So it was exciting to even think of that that's now a route that I could take. Um, and I was able to get into Loyola Marymount University in 2014. And it was at first, I was super, super excited, right? Because like, this is so different. Like, mind you, like Palmdale is the desert. We have
Mhm.
tumbleweeds, it's
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah.
And Loyola Marymount like has a beautiful view, like, and it's so expansive. And what really sold me was the gym that they had there. Like,
Okay.
oh, like this is
It's always those
new.
little things, right, when we decide
Yeah,
undergraduate, but it works, so
it works. And then especially
yes.
because I saw we have a bluff, right? So Loyola has like this, you have a view, and I was like, you know what? Like, I know I'm gonna need that view when I'm really sad
Yeah.
or I'm really crashing out. I'm gonna need something
Right.
nice to look at.
Right.
So it's inherently how I decided, and I fell in love with the school.
Okay.
Um, and it it got kind of derailed for a little bit because I was told, we had to pay a lot of money, and my mom, she was only working as housekeeping, so realistically, she wasn't making much money to
Right.
to afford the school. Like it was just outright like what they were asking was inherently impossible, right?
Right.
And I thought like my dream of going to college was dead and done. And I was like, oh man,
Right.
like this, I got in, but I can't afford it.
Mhm.
So with that, I was like, you know what, like I have to just give it a try. And like I marched myself up to the financial aid office and I was like, I need to speak
Okay,
to whoever I need to speak to.
wait, hold on. So when asking Jasmine who she is, I remember her telling me this story, years ago, and I was so moved and inspired by it. I ask her to share this story often with students, but I think it really speaks to who you are and how you move through life. So this is incredibly powerful, so I want you guys to listen in. So you were incredibly scared to do what, and what did you do?
I requested like a meeting and I was like, look,
With
I need to
who?
talk to,
Okay.
I don't know, whoever was the one
Okay.
in charge, like I was like, I need to talk to you. Um, because this isn't working out, right? I need to figure it out. And like I
Like
printed
the
out, I was like,
financial aid op like the
yeah,
financial aid office? Okay.
I was like so nervous. I had like this little like folder and I had like printed out like the student demographics, I did all the things. I was trying to look at like their population and I was basically just trying to pull up my transcript as well and I was showing them like the case, like I was trying to make a case at
Mhm.
such a young age of like, you need me, like come on, like there's not enough of me in here, like there's not
I
enough
love
women of
it.
color in this space, like
I
I'm
love it.
like first generation, like I'm coming from low income like household, like you like this can't be the end of it,
Right.
and I think like in that meeting I was so I don't know, I feel like it just went because at the end I was just waiting for like a response or something. I was like, no,
Mhm.
yes, something. And they're
Yes.
like, okay, we'll get back to you, thank you for the meeting. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And I was like, oh man, like, I guess that's it. This is my last time stepping on this. Like, I was like, that's
I love
it.
it. Courage,
Goodbye.
courage, having fear, but moving forward anyways, right? What's the worst
Yeah.
that they could say? They essentially already told you, like, your end
Hmm.
of your college experience was over,
Yeah.
essentially, because there wasn't money to pay for it, so what could you lose, right?
Yeah. So I think because of that, right, I was like, well, I'm just
Mhm.
gonna ask, or and
Okay.
make a request or demand or what have you. And
It
it
was a
worked
demand.
out.
It was a beautiful, well-written
I
demand.
was like, hey, yeah, I'm grateful for little me because she got me through and I was able to get in. They reduced it by a lot because it was like in the thousands. I was like requesting for it in the month
Mhm.
to like I think we dropped it down to 250.
Wow.
Yeah, so it
For
was
Loyola Marymount, so shout out to
yeah,
Loyola Marymount.
right. It was making it happen.
Yes.
And now it's like of course it's like loans and stuff like that, but at least it's
Mhm.
like it's financial aid regardless of just
Right,
trying to get through. And I was able to get through Loyola, and it was only feasible because, like that was made into a situation, and I was able to then hold down like a couple of part-time jobs and pay it because, like I said, like my mom she doesn't have extra money to pay for
right,
anything, like let alone 1,000, not even a couple of hundreds,
right.
or so I was full-time student, and I was doing a lot of part-time jobs and trying to get it through. And I had amazing people along the way, and I was able to finish up in 2016.
Wow,
And it's only because I already had 55 transferable credits.
wow.
Yeah,
How old were you when you graduated from Loyola Marymount
it was like
University?
20.
Wow,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
And then
yeah. And
where
I was
did
like, oh,
and so where did your career take you next or education?
yeah. So um, I wasn't thinking about being anything as an educator or education at all. I was at first trying to be in the political world.
Mm,
I was thinking maybe becoming an attorney or just saying that route, but
mhm.
through my internships and like just the teaching that I was learning at
Yeah,
Loyola, I saw that that wasn't a fit for me.
yeah.
So And it was just because, like, I wanted to be more hands-on with my community, I wanted to be closer to my community, I wanted to
Mm,
feel, like, more, um, like a direct,
mhm.
connection with.
Right.
So then I started to journey out to, the nonprofit world,
Okay.
and through there, I found my way into education, where I was like, "Well, I'm
Yeah.
just be a sub for a while," and then I
Mhm.
met you, and then it's from there, I was like, "Yeah, like, education feels good. It
Yeah.
feels nice to be able to be." Because at the time I was being a long-term sub in the Antelope Valley,
Mhm.
so in my hometown, right? And it just felt right. So I wanted to continue that route of being in education, and then became a teacher. Um, and I was able to then get my master's in 2020
Mhm.
at USC. Um, And then I was like, okay, I feel like I've learned a lot in being in my hometown, but I want to be able to see what's more out there because
Right.
I want to be able to bring resources back home. Like, and I know that a lot of times people are thinking like, you've been out in the Bay now for
Yeah.
5 years and you're not gonna come back. I'm like, that's a
Right.
lie. Like, I am gonna come back. I just need to make sure I'm
Yeah.
learning all the things.
Yes.
And now I'm out here, and I was a teacher out here for 4 years, 5 years. Um, and then I switched over to out of class
Okay.
support. So now I'm working still in education, but not as an educator.
Okay. For a nonprofit organization.
Hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I like I said, like I really loved, and I still love teaching. Like even
Mhm.
now, I still get the opportunities. Like yesterday, I was able to teach kids. Like,
You are a change maker, and so, um, it's exciting watching your career. You need to be a principal. I'm gonna be working with you on this. That is not your desire, but it is mine. For the for the children and the adults that you will, support in amazing ways, but I can still see you absolutely, in politics, working on policy, to support communities, so but yes, so
thank
you're
you.
working for a nonprofit now, so
Yeah.
still working in schools, but not,
Hmm.
in the role of a teacher in the classroom.
Yeah. So now I am at an elementary school,
Okay.
and I help like with a lot of different things, from family connections to like it's mainly the bulk of it's like systemic things, like thinking through
Mhm,
like what are the systems the school has and are they efficient and effective for what the goals are for that school.
mhm, mhm.
So
Nice. I wanna go back a little bit, when just hearing your story about how you ended up at a early college high school that, has a dual enrollment. Um College readiness, because of my avid background and family background, education is a family value. Often we make choices for students, whether that's college or career, or we put students into
mhm,
categories saying, like, oh, well, everybody doesn't have to go to college, which is absolutely true. But are we really asking students what they want? So we
mhm,
decided to collect some data and ask students at our site, how many of you want to go to a 4 year university after high school? And so we have asked all of our eighth graders, and we're starting to work on our seventh graders now. But that number it's in the about like the high 80s, low 90s. But what I'm seeing as when we ask them, what's the reason why? If you don't want to go, what I hear is cost. So what I see in their
mhm,
comments, and these are eighth graders, they talk about expensive, their family doesn't have the money to go. Um, they hear they use debt a lot. What would you tell students in our community who have those, like, that is their only fear about attending a university? What would you tell them?
um,
Or even
that
family?
yeah, I think what I would really tell them is like just to start asking what are the resources around you.
Mhm,
Um, because, like my family, like I said, like I'm first generation. We didn't speak about college. We didn't like that wasn't something that was um talked about or planned for or anything, right? It was just more like, hey, if you can just finish high school, like I'm really
mhm,
proud of you.
mhm, mhm,
Which, like absolutely.
mhm,
Um, but I would say it's not letting that fear take a hold of you, and try to reroute. Like, if cost is the issue, what can we do to make that not be an issue anymore, right? It's like,
Mhm.
um, how can I make it so that I'm still able to attend this college and not have such a financial burden?
Mhm.
Um, because the one thing I also wished I did more when I
Mhm.
was younger, because when you're
Mhm.
a teenager, you're like, you know everything, and like no
Yes,
one's gonna tell
yes,
you otherwise.
yes.
I wished
Absolutely.
I wished I listened to the adults. There is wisdom. There is
Mm,
wisdom with somebody
right.
who is a little older than you.
Mhm,
Um, and I think sometimes we take that for granted because I think
mhm,
we're often taught like it is a very individualistic um race, right? Like it's
mhm.
a race that you have to do it by yourself. But in
Right.
reality, like it's not a race. You
Mhm.
are in community and you have
Right,
so many people around you that can support you.
right.
And take that. Like take
Mhm,
those advantages that the world that life gives you to have such amazing people around you.
mhm.
Because when I really look back at all of what I was able to accomplish, it was because
Mhm.
somebody else opened the door for me
Right. Yeah.
and like made way for me or even gave me like a little piece of information.
Mhm,
Um, because I was often told, right, from sophomore year, I was being
mhm,
told like, apply to scholarships. Like I know it feels overwhelming and it's
mhm,
tedious and it is tedious and it
mhm.
does feel overwhelming.
Right.
But if you were to just like if I just chunked it up in like 30 minutes a day or even a
Mhm.
week, right,
Mm.
I could have had a whole different setup
Right,
where I was getting money for just existing as myself, right?
right,
And my experiences. And yes,
right,
it would have required me to like maybe write an essay or maybe submit w- insert whatever.
right,
But
right.
that also could have been a way where I didn't have to think about like, oh, I have to go talk to the financial aid office at Loyola, which
Right.
still I'm glad that it happened and it worked
Yeah.
out.
Yes.
That's that piece of like you still got to try to make something happen with what you have.
Mhm,
Um, but I also wish that there was a piece where I was able to like really lean on my community
mhm.
and not be scared of being alone because we're
Right,
actually not alone. There's so many
right.
great people.
I love that.
It's just figuring out how to connect with those folks.
Right. Thank you for that. I appreciate
Mhm.
that. And then, being in education, it's hard work. It's hard work. Taking care of and supporting children, really, like we are responsible for I feel like how they see themselves, right? And how they think that they can move through the world. Um, what um what keeps you going amidst all the challenges that we are experiencing in education?
Yeah, honestly, I felt that burnout and the fatigue, by my 5th year of teaching, and that's why
Mm,
I felt the need to step down because I felt like I wasn't able to be the educator that I know I was, um,
mhm,
because of how I was feeling inside. So I felt like
mm,
I was doing a disservice to my students because I was not being able to meet them with compassion or meet them with
yeah,
like care the way I
mm,
know I used to, like even a couple
right,
months prior to that feeling, right?
right,
So I knew I had to step out of the classroom because I wanted
mhm,
them to have more success. Yeah, like um I was reflecting back 'cause I think it's scary, right? When you once you make the realization that maybe being in the classroom is not where I need to be, it's scary to think about like, well, what happens next?
mhm, mhm,
And I was concerned, right? But I knew that it was for the best for my well-being as
mhm,
well,
mhm,
because I think what is not often spoke about is like the amount of work an educator does and pours into like
mhm.
for their class for their students.
Absolutely, yeah,
um they do so much like amazing work
yeah,
and they try to be there for all their students.
yes,
um and I don't know if that's really understood by folks who are not in education
mhm.
or who have
Or
not
even just
stepped
not
foot
in
in
the
the classroom.
classroom.
Yeah,
Yes,
like not
or have
stepped foot
been
in the
out of the
classroom
classroom for some time.
for a
Yes,
while.
definitely. Yes, yes.
Yes, I agree because like it's a lot to hold.
Mhm.
And to ask of one person in the space where they're managing like 20 plus students, 30 plus students, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
174 to
yeah,
200. You're a secondary
yes,
teacher, right? Yes,
yes,
yes. Mhm.
a lot of students, and they're all their own like little beings with their own
Yes,
feelings and their own
yes,
thinking and like their own needs and their own wants, you know, and I
yes.
don't know if that's like really understood by folks
Mhm.
outside of the classroom, right? So I say that to say that like what made me step out was because I want to be able to be there for the educator who's not feeling burnout yet, and I don't want them to
Yeah,
ever feel that because I felt that, and I
right.
don't want them to get there. So what
Mhm.
grounds me is to make sure that all these amazing folks who are in the classroom stay in the classroom for our students because I want our students to have amazing people in their
I love that.
spaces and not people who like don't want to be there or
Right.
for not
And
the right reasons, you know.
and thank you for just having the courage to share that. And I want people to understand that that's not necessarily a unique experience, and I don't want anybody to judge. And so I definitely was in a similar space after being in the classroom for many years. There was a time period where I was feeling that burnout. And I'm a teacher who takes pride in, even a principal, in knowing my students' names, right? And so I got
Mhm.
to a place where I didn't even know their names. So it was, young lady in the red hoodie, or, gentleman in the blue shirt. And so I was like, okay, I need to step out. Like I believe like the work that I do is like God work, right? So like I'm trying to serve God like by supporting his children and the adults who support them. So I'm like, okay, God does not want me in a classroom right now. Like I need to step away. And so I figured out a way to just step back, and I really needed that year um, to really like reflect and think. And, when I came back with a vengeance. But, so I thank you for sharing that, because I think policymakers and systems need to realize that too. Like all of the pressures and
Mhm.
demands we put on the most important people in school systems are teachers, right? And everybody else is a supporting cast, whether you're a principal or whether you're a custodian, right? We are all just support. But what do you think, just being newer to the profession or newer to education, younger than me? You're not brand new anymore by any means. But what do we as site leaders, as a principal, what do I need to keep in mind as people who run school systems? What do we need to keep in mind so that we are protecting and nourishing and supporting our teachers so that they don't leave us? People like you who are phenomenal with students. What do we need to rethink or do differently?
I think it's viewing everybody holistically. I think
Mhm.
oftentimes, and I and I think we're moving in such a great way, right? Of like before, students were not seen more than just a student, right? So
Mhm.
we've done great moves to really be mindful of like, no, our students are human and they have
Yes.
all these things with them, right?
Yes.
And I think also then is now also make that understanding for the adults in the space as
Mm.
well,
I love
right? Like
that.
view people holistically because we are a community. This is a
Mhm.
we, not an
Yes.
I or an
Yes.
us versus them. And I
Yes.
think too many times folks get in camps of like division
Mm.
and then
Mm.
they end up just scrapping like over the scraps, right? They start
Yes.
fighting over when we shouldn't be fighting with each other
Right.
about like what's there. We should be fighting for more for our students, for our staff, for our
Yes.
community at large.
Mhm.
Because like you said, we're doing this amazing work, like so that we can make amazing adults and amazing
Yes.
humans.
Yes.
So we have to be together and we have to
Mm.
understand that we are in community with each other.
I
And we
love
have to
that.
have like reciprocal relationships.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I love that.
Hmm.
And so, of all the work that you do, because it's true to form in education, you don't just do one thing, right? So, if you're working with littles, it could be helping a student who had an accident. It could be diapering. I know that's not the politically correct term right now. I forgot what it is, but I don't work with the littles, but it could be
That's okay.
diapering. It could be, counseling. It could be a myriad of things, right? In addition to the role that you're paid to do. But thinking about that, the work that you have done or that you get to do now, what energizes you the most?
I think it's that being able to figure out how to get us all connected back to each other by
Mhm.
figuring out how I can support a teacher who maybe needs to repair with a student or the student needs to
Mhm.
repair with a teacher,
Yeah.
right? And like building that back in because once we start to actually see each other holistically, right?
Mhm.
Then it becomes so much more enjoyable for everybody involved, right?
Mhm.
Then the
Yeah.
student wants to be in the classroom, then the teacher
Yeah.
wants to be with the student, then the
Yeah.
admin wants to be like in the space with their educators. Cause
Right.
I've seen, side note, I've seen some like admin not wanting, not my admin, right? But like I've
Yeah.
seen admin like not wanting to be in the space with their educators, right?
Wow. How
Because
is that
they
even
know
possible? Yeah.
yeah, it's like they know, like maybe the educators are a little upset. So it's like building all those like like relationships back and
Right.
grounding it back because I think we often get so lost in trying to do the new something that we forget that we're with each other, you know?
Right. Yeah. And that just seems like a common theme. We're early in our podcast journey, but um, through every episode it's that relationship, it's that
Mhm.
common theme that nothing moves. Maybe it moves in a negative direction, but nothing moves in a positive direction. Nothing great happens if we don't really invest time in relationships. So it can't just
Mhm.
be the programs, the curriculum, the pacing. That's really like that's the money factor is the people and the human relationships that are essential.
Exactly. Because like at the end of the day, it's like when admin wants to give feedback to their teacher, right, or their
Mhm.
educator, how do we expect that to be received if there's no inherent trust
Mm.
or feeling
Yeah.
of like I see I know that you see me as more than just an educator and I'm
Right.
trusting that when you give me this feedback, it's grounded in something
Mhm.
authentic, right? And
Mhm.
the same thing we ask with teachers with students, right? It's like
Mhm.
how can that student feel like this feedback is authentic and
Right.
true when
Right.
they've often felt disconnected from you, right? So
Yeah.
it's like we
Yeah.
have to be mindful of like if we really want to be able to be moving in a direction that's helpful for all of us, then we
Mhm.
have to first really hold each other.
Yeah. You said it too earlier, just we're together. We're working together. We can't do anything in isolation. Nothing well
Mhm.
for sure. And the needs of our community are great, and the pressures on our teachers, our educators, they're intense. So we have
Mhm.
to we have to do this together to ease the load, right, and work smarter. It's more efficient, really, than having to carry everything on your own. I
Mhm.
want to talk about just your work, and I know some of your passion spaces. Um, but in your work, you've helped design and implement ethnic studies frameworks across multiple school settings. Can you walk us through a specific initiative that you led? What was the need, what you built, and the impact it had on students and culture?
Yeah, I think one of my proudest moments is being able to work with an amazing ninth grade team. Shout out to Lorenzo Hall and then Melissa Diaz.
Ooh.
Um, yes, because like we were able to um, create curriculum for ninth grade that was ethnic studies lens
Wow.
focused. And we did it, like from scratch and figuring
Wow.
out like what are the things that we need, what are the standards, like what's true to our students right now. We're in the Bay, like what specific causes were happening in the Bay, like how do we connect it
Wow.
back from past to present.
I got
Um,
chills. I kept getting chills when you
yeah,
were
no,
talking.
it was
I
it
love
was
it.
amazing.
Yes.
We gutted an entire unit that was previously there. It's not to say that the previous unit wasn't good. It was just like we just
Right.
wanted to revamp it, right? It's like
Mhm.
and
And do
we
something
put in
relevant and connected to the kids in the
mhm.
community that you were serving. Yes.
Mhm,
Mhm.
like, it was beautiful because then you saw these students come alive,
Mm,
And none of us had like behavior issues, right? That people often talk about, like, oh, this is happening, blah, blah, blah. No, because the kids were bought into what they were learning. They were excited.
wow.
They saw themselves. They felt challenged academically because you can go back to that high school and everybody would can tell you ninth grade humanities was the hardest class. Even the seniors, right? Seniors would be like,
Right.
no, actually this class was actually really hard when I think back on it. And I'm like,
Wow.
yeah, why do you think that is? Like we are not just I think oftentimes people think that it's just like flowers and daisies and we're just gonna like pass kids along or whatever if we're talking
Right.
about ethnic studies or DEI or insert
Right.
whatever
Mhm.
act like word you want to put in, right? But
Right.
it's genuinely like really focusing on the academic rigor and really seeing your students, right?
Mhm.
Really seeing what's happening around. And I understand when folks are like, okay, like my district has like scripted curriculum or planned curriculum, and I have to do this and X, Y, and Z. But you still have the ability to supplement it. I would encourage folks to supplement the curriculum and
Yes.
really try to embed back into like who are you serving and
Right.
how are they reflected back in your classroom. And it's
Right.
not just curriculum, right? Like from Mr. Howell, Ms. Diaz, and myself, we had different vibes in their classroom because we made it authentic to us, right? Like it
Right.
was our personalities that taught the curriculum and
Right.
because we wanted our students to see us and to see
Mm.
them, right?
Right.
So I think like those are the things that I think about when I think about like, well, what was the proudest moment? Like it's being able to
That's
work with amazing people.
and that's incredible too because you talked about behavior, right? We both, in
Yes.
education, curriculum instruction and behavior.
Mm,
But you said and a couple of things too. I think sometimes people may think like, "Oh, if I make it easier, the kids will be more engaged." You said it became more rigorous,
mhm.
but there was also that relevancy piece. It was connected to them. And then, like magic, there are no behavior issues because
Yeah.
kids are engaged in a curriculum that they're interested in. It's relevant and it's connected to the standards. And that's really the key thing, right? Is
Mhm.
that what you're teaching is connected to the standards. And so there's multiple ways they can get that.
Yeah, and I think it's like I said, like, because we were such a solid team, and that's why I keep trying to bring it
Mm,
back to, like, its community.
thank you.
Because
Thank
there
you.
is no way and let me clarify, there would be no way that I myself as an individual would make that curriculum
Mm,
like, in the way that it was created because we all took portions of it and we all
yeah.
scaffolded, we all differentiated, we sent each other the lesson plan 2 weeks
Yeah.
in advance so that we can talk about it. We met, like, we did so much work together,
Right.
so that it didn't feel like I had to do all these things alone, right? So
Yes.
we thought about our students with the highest needs in each of our spaces, and we
Right.
tailored it to them, right? It's like, "Okay, let's make it so that it's universally accessible
Right.
and work in those different like points where we can differentiate
Of
upwards
course.
for our other students, so it's like
I love it.
that doesn't mean that I'm going to because my students need a little bit more access, I'm going to lower the standard. I think that's where it gets
Right.
really confused for people.
Yes,
Like, no, you
yes.
don't lower
No.
the standard. You just
Not at
open the
all.
door for them.
Right.
Like you
Right.
make it accessible for
Yes.
them. You
Sample
don't just
that.
tell them
Yes.
like,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
I was like, "Oh, kid, that kid can't do" no, like, "Okay,
Right.
we're working on that skill. How do we make it
Mhm.
so that they can grow a little more on it?" You
Absolutely.
know?
Absolutely. That's
So,
incredible. So I'm gonna have to get your team you guys are all 3
yes,
of you have to come back and
absolutely.
talk about that experience.
No, Mr. Howe right now is in Brown.
Okay.
He's
Okay.
getting his doctorates in sociology.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm,
Mr.
and I
Howell, I'm coming
believe
for you. I don't know what's his first
yeah,
name.
Lorenzo.
Lorenzo. Okay, I'm on the hunt.
I look, I learned so much from
And Miss
him
Diaz, right?
and Miss
Diaz too.
Diaz.
Okay.
Yeah, Miss Diaz is still out here in the Bay too. She's an educator
Okay.
out here too. She's still an
Okay.
education like an educator. Very proud of
Okay.
her. Um, amazing folks, like
Okay.
impeccable folks. I've learned so much from them and I love them deeply.
And what if let me ask you this. So,
Mhm.
if your other school experiences were like the one you had at Lorenzo High, where it sounds like you had a team that you were somehow able to connect with, plan with, collaborate with. If you had that same team experience, do you feel like you would have left teaching in a traditional way? You still work in education, but your
Yeah,
face just lit up when you were talking about the collaboration and the work that you guys did together. So I'm just curious.
what I will say is we were given free range of for curriculum as
That's
long as we
awesome.
grounded it in the standards, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
two, they were mindful about making sure that we did have planning time, like
Okay.
in the sense of like it was
That's
embedded
important.
into the schedule
Yeah.
and we didn't have to like figure it out.
On your own
Now
time.
the planning time was embedded for Lorenzo and Melly and I to meet. Um,
You've coached educators through live classroom support and reflective feedback cycles. What are one or two coaching moves that you've used that have helped teachers shift their practice in meaningful ways?
yeah, I think one that often folks dismiss or don't commit all the way is role play. And I
Okay.
think you gotta get into it,
Okay.
because
Okay.
I think a lot of times what ends up happening is, let's say a behavior occurs in the classroom,
Uh-huh.
we don't realize that we react in like in the split second, we're already reacting,
Right.
and I think because they are sporadic, right? Like, it happens when it happens,
Mhm.
there's not enough inherent exposure to really regulate yourself or regulate your body,
Mm.
in a way that would be beneficial for your actual response to said student, right? So I
Okay.
think role play, and you have to actually be committed to like
Mhm.
enacting those behaviors and
Okay.
following through, whoever it is, right? Whoever is
Mhm.
role playing with the educator,
Okay.
um, so that the educator has time to actually see how their body's responding, see
Mm.
how their mind, where is their mind going? Are they
Mhm.
blanking? Are they
Mhm.
freezing up? Are they getting agitated? Are they feeling
Mm.
hot in the face? You know, like, so then they can start getting those mental cues of like, oh, when this happens, this is how I'm already responding without even
Right.
responding, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I think it's like, and it's in a space that's actually safe for them. There's another
Right.
adult, and we're not causing harm to a student because we are pausing and going as adults of like, okay, this is what you say, or this is how you're coming up.
Mhm.
How can we shift it?
I love
Right?
it.
How do we redirect this? It's like, oh, I
Mhm.
love how you did that, but like this is
Mhm.
where I noticed here.
Right.
So I think it's like really getting into those with somebody that you trust, another educator, right?
Mhm.
Another educator that you trust, that
Right.
you've seen have like strong classroom management, or you've
Mhm.
seen a specific skill that they are
Mhm.
enacting,
Okay.
that you would want to emulate, you know?
And you
And then
s
the second one, would be like building mini units if you
Mm.
can. Um,
Okay.
I think there's a lot of power in being able to create your curriculum because then
Mhm.
you're genuinely understanding what's going into it and you're
Mhm.
genuinely centering your
Mm.
students. You
Right.
know,
Right.
so now you actually know what's the actual skill in this lesson. What's the
Yes.
actual like access points for my student? You
Mhm.
know, and having somebody to guide you through those thinking pieces.
Mhm. I love that. And it sounds like just
Mhm,
your approach, which I'm sure is a reason why you're so successful with the coaching, is that you are humanizing the educator too. And so I think, the public doesn't realize that, that the educator is a human, they are not a robot. And,
mhm,
working with 20 to 34, 35, 40 students who all have their lived experiences, rough mornings are coming to you that day, and you are
mhm.
allowed to be human, right? And so, but I like that that's how you view the educators that you work with, because that would make me feel comfortable to role play with you and to receive feedback, because it would feel like a safe space, and that's what educators need, right? To grow,
Yeah.
safe spaces where there's no judgment and they can take risks in their space to learn. At Gateway High School, you helped lead equity-focused professional learning and BIPOC affinity spaces. Can you share an example of equity work you helped design or facilitate that led to real shifts, not just conversations?
Yeah, I think it was being able to come together with other amazing adults, and
Mhm,
create like an actual PD, uh, content where
mhm,
we were at that point, we were focusing, on building reciprocal relationships between
mm,
educator and student.
Oh,
Because I
wow.
think like that piece of conversation, right, that we are saying earlier, just like oftentimes like there's a lot of conversations around students, which is again amazing and great work that needs to happen. But I
Mhm.
think oftentimes, at least what we were seeing at our school site, and it could be just school site specific, but
Mhm.
what we were seeing is that sometimes there was no understanding of the educator from the student's end, right? So it's like this
Mm.
person is going to just do this for me because I told them they're going to do it, and they're going to move
Right.
this way because X, Y, and Z, right?
Right.
So
Right.
we understood that to be harmful because like then that student is going to go in the world being very like I centered and not we centered, right? So it's like
Right.
they're not gonna have reciprocal relationships moving forward. So
Mm. Oh, I
we
love
want
that.
to ensure that we are building like yes, our students academically and emotionally. Like I think that's the
Mm.
part that we forget sometimes, right?
Right.
And also it's like that's that piece that educators needed when we were getting feedback from them, gathering the data, having student interviews, having family interviews, like all the things, right? Is this resounding feeling of like, I am not being seen as anything other than somebody who has to just grade something when somebody tells me to do it, and that's it.
Right. Right.
Right. So we want to make them feel like, no, you are valued and you should be
Mhm.
valued. You're right. You're human and
Right.
you're not just somebody who's gonna be great. Like you're not just
Right.
this thing, this item
Yeah.
or this, you know?
Yes.
So it was nice because we asked our educators to think of a student that they want to build an actual relationship with that they haven't
Mm.
been able to, right?
That's awesome.
And build it with and want to be able to actually have that back and forth with the student, you know. So
Yes.
we were asking for very vulnerable, and then the student had to consent, right? Like
Yes. Yes.
the educator had to go ask and be like,
Okay.
hey, this is what we're thinking I want to build an authentic relationship with you
Wow.
and name, right, that they're feeling what they're
Mhm.
feeling in
Yes.
a very vulnerable way. So
Wow.
yeah, it was nice.
What did the work look like? So what are like strategies, I guess I'm
Mhm.
asking? How did they go about rebuilding the relationship once everybody
Yeah.
agreed?
It so once everybody agreed, right, it then becomes like a choose your own adventure, right?
Okay.
Because it ends up being where like you have to like every relationship is so different and you have to figure
Mhm.
out like maybe somebody already from jump has to already start a restorative conversation. Like
Mm.
now they're feeling vulnerable enough and they need a mediator to come in and like
Okay.
restore, like repair the harm, right? In
Okay.
between. And some relationships don't need that. Some of them are just like you didn't inherently we didn't do anything wrong to each other. We just don't like I don't see you for more than what
Yeah.
50 minutes, what
Yes.
have you, right? So then it's just like, oh, I'm actually gonna try to build community with this student, right? So
Mhm.
it could look like luncheons, right, with
Okay.
each other. It could look
Okay.
like they're we had advisory. Sometimes they can even
Mhm.
ask to be, you know, just have advisory time when they're building community, like
Okay.
with their advisory, they can switch out. So it just really depended
Okay.
on like how they wanted to move in that cycle. And if
What does that
it
That's what I was
oh,
gonna
sorry.
ask. I think what you were gonna say.
Yeah,
What
it's like
happened?
it
What
did
was the
require
impact?
like
Yes.
interviews. Yeah, it's like you needed
Oh, okay.
interviews. So we did interviews at the beginning, right? So they had to be open and honest with each other in the beginning. So that's what I'm saying. Like it was a big ask,
Wow.
you know.
Okay.
So they had to be okay with whatever was being said at the beginning, and then also be
Mhm.
okay with whatever happened at the end, you know. So
Okay.
like we gathered data through that of like recording your voice or
Okay.
recording a video, whatever felt comfortable, right, for the students and the
Wow.
families. Um, and it was a lot of that.
What was the impact of that? So what did you guys see? What was the results?
Yeah, we saw a lot of repair and a
Mm.
lot of feeling when we first started, right? The surveys were coming back with like I feel like I'm only seen as this. And then by the end
Mm.
of it, it came back as like I actually feel good now. Like I feel
Wow.
connected back to my
Wow.
student. So that was really nice to see
Okay.
that.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I'm gonna
Mhm.
think about that idea. Yeah. Yeah, building reciprocal relationships.
Mhm.
Okay. Your career spans classroom teaching, instructional coaching, and multi agency coordination of services. Can you tell me about the work that you're doing now that really combines academic instruction with social, emotional, and trauma informed supports for students?
Yeah, I like right now, what we're currently working on is that there were some issues that were coming up for our second grade floor in general. We have four second grade classrooms, and extremely inappropriate comments, like racial comments, were being made to our Black students in
Okay.
that grade bandwidth by other students. So we had to sit down as a team, right? So myself and then the four educators
Did you
and
say
figure
second
out
grade?
second grade.
Second grade,
Yes.
wow.
And the comments varied, right? Some
Mhm,
comments were just curiosity questions, right?
mhm,
Why do you X, Y, Z, right? Or why
mhm,
why do I look like this and you look like that, right?
mhm,
So some of
mhm,
them were just curiosity.
mhm,
I'm curious about these things, while others were extremely inappropriate and very, very harmful, right?
mm,
Where repair needed to be done immediately between
mm,
the two students. But still,
mhm.
like that is once harm like that is done, it takes a while to
Yeah.
repair back, right? So
Right, right,
even then, it's like we have to do more than just like talk to each other, right? There
right.
there has to be more.
Mhm,
So we sat down and we came up with the plan of creating an actual mini unit that they will be teaching during their social emotional learning time.
okay.
Um, for depending on how the educator breaks it up, because
Mhm,
they're roughly each 45-minute lessons that
mhm,
have a nice break in the middle for 20 minutes. So
okay.
depending on how the educator moves, that can be anywhere between 1 to 3 weeks,
Mm,
that they will be teaching this lesson grounded
mhm.
again in Common Core standards,
Love it. Mhm,
and the need that's coming up for second
mhm.
grade, right? So it's really
Okay.
thinking about what does race even mean at a second grade level, right?
Right,
What is racism at a second grade level? And even
right,
breaking it up further of like, what does it then mean to be an anti-racist,
right.
assimilationist, and a segregationist, right? What do these
Mhm,
words mean?
mhm,
Um, and how do we see it historically and
mhm.
currently, right? So it's
Right.
really walking through, winding down that experience for the students in a grade level manner.
Mhm.
Um, and and that's where we're currently at with it. It's just like creating it. We're almost done creating the
It's incredible.
lesson. Hmm.
It's, I was thinking when you said second grade, but then I have 2 children, so I started thinking about my own children's experiences, and so, to people, some people may think like, "Oh, that's really intense or heavy for second grade. They don't need to be dealing with issues of race," but you're kind of showing us that is what is on the second graders' minds. That is what they're talking
Hmm.
about, right?
Hmm.
And I remember, I feel like it was probably, um, in second grade. It was probably in second grade, when my son 1st or 2nd, when he came home and he started talking about complexion, and
Hmm.
race, and so I was like, "Whoa," and so I remember, us having to, talk about it because he was experiencing comments at school that
Hmm.
we had to have conversations with at home, and I remember even my, younger brother, I don't remember what grade it was in, but it was young because I don't remember him being completely articulate with his speech, and so, um, he told my mom that he was gray. Right, and so my mom was like, "Oh, no," like, so she would sing, like,
Hmm.
"Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud" by James
Hmm.
Brown and,
Hmm.
wanting to really start building him up to feel good about who he is,
Hmm.
but the
Hmm.
reality is for, my lived experience, Black children have to deal with race really
Hmm.
early
Hmm.
because of other people are bringing comments to them. So 2nd grade
Exactly.
actually, sounds right about on time. So that's
Yeah.
powerful. Mhm.
Exactly, and that's exactly what's happening
Mhm.
at our school site too. It's like our Black students are being brought these comments, right? People
Mhm.
like I think that's where, to your point, right, where folks are like, "Oh, this might be too early." I'm like, "It's never too early."
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
things are noticed immediately, and what we forget is
Mhm.
that we are embedding our ideals and our expectations and all these things even before birth, right? Like for example, gender
Mhm.
reveals. Like we're already imposing a gender
Right.
expectation on a child that's not even born yet. So
Mhm.
if that's happening,
Mhm.
right, even
Mhm.
before birth, things like this are
Mhm.
happening throughout, right? Of
Oh,
like
yeah. Right.
this is happening, and they will start noticing. Students will start noticing these things. Young children will start noticing these
Mhm.
things. And like I said, some of
Mhm.
them may just be curious. Some of them
Mhm.
we just need to have conversations about curiosity. Like, what does that mean, right? And others are
Right.
like previously are learning things that may be
Mhm.
harmful for our
Mhm.
community at large. And
Yeah.
we need to be able to combat with actual knowledge of things, right? And really
Right.
grounding it back on we need to see each other holistically. And that includes our differences that make us
Mm.
powerful.
Right.
Right. So I think it's
Absolutely.
those things.
Absolutely. I love that. And it's really sounds like it's empowering students. And it's not about, you're right or you're wrong. It's not about punishment, right? But it's just about
Mm-hmm.
how to view people, right? As
Mm-hmm.
unique
Exactly.
human individual beyond maybe anything that they've learned or society has
Mm-hmm.
unconsciously
Mm-hmm.
made them believe through media and that type
Mm-hmm.
of thing. So
Exactly.
I love that. And so do you get pushback because the political climate that we're in now? And, you did mention that it's grounded in the Common Core standards because I know all good teachers care about the standards, right?
Yeah.
But because we want to make sure that that students learn that piece. But what's
Mm-hmm.
the teacher experience from our
It
feedback?
was I think the beautiful thing is that the second grade team is in consensus that this is needed, right?
Oh, that's
They've seen it occur in their spaces, and they want
awesome.
to stop it, and
Mhm,
like to stop the harm
mhm,
that's occurring,
mhm.
whether it's intentional or unintentional,
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Mhm,
It's more of a like we need to respond to our students' needs.
mhm,
I think to your point though, like what we are concerned about is like parent pushback. So that's why there is
mhm.
a lot of these things that we're thinking through of like how do we ensure that this is still something that's within the parameters of our teaching and our practices and our
Right.
values as a school,
Mhm,
right? And grounding it all right back in. Like this is
mhm.
not something that I'm trying to quote unquote indoctrinate your child,
Right.
or I'm trying to teach them a specific things. Like this is actually
Yes.
grounded in the needs of our community and in the needs of our students.
Okay, awesome. And last
Mhm.
question. Um, for educators listening who are doing this work quietly and courageously, because the work that even you talk about doing takes a lot of courage to do. So thank you for doing it with your teams and having the courage to do it. But for educators who are listening, doing this work without recognition, what's one reminder or truth you wish someone had told you earlier in your career?
That you're gonna make mistakes and that is okay. Like
Mm,
you're learning from those mistakes, and please don't ever expect yourself to be perfect. I think
love it.
there is always this feeling of like I need to do all the things and I need to
Mm,
be all the things.
mhm,
And that's not true. In
mm,
fact, right, like when we center ourselves and our students' experiences, we're causing harm, right?
right.
Like
Mhm.
when we try to do all the things at all the
Yes.
time, then we're taking away the choice of our students as well. You know what
I
I
love
mean?
that.
So
Yes.
it's taking your time, finding your voice, figure out your flow, figure out like what it is that's sustainable for you and how you're going to show up for the kiddos. So at the end of the day, like I know we're all here for our students. And let's
Right.
not forget that, right? It's like
Mhm.
let's be for them and still hold ourselves to us, right? Like we don't have to become only an educator and that's that. Like you are
Yes.
still you outside of the classroom.
Yes.
Like don't
Yes.
forget yourself.
Yes. Yes, yes. I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah,
for
of course.
riding
Thank
on the
you for
school
having
bus
me.
with today. Yes, it was
So much
fun. I
fun.
enjoyed
Thank
it.
you.